Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to Restore It. After finishing the engine series, I'm back in the workshop with a few friends, continuing from where we left off. The footage you're seeing now of me and my dad was filmed before I started the engine series. I'll let you know when we fast forward to last week. So after not choosing the shelf option from arbogardensolutions.co.uk, I decided I actually wanted shelves. The first thing to do was to clear the piles of stuff I created. I then measured some MDF sheets to the correct size and cut them with a circular saw. I cut the end support pieces and the middle piece to stop the sheet from bowing too much. We then added the sheets into the workbenches and added the middle support. It was at this point I decided to start the engine series. 2 months later, we carry on with the workshop. By this point, the MDF had bowed a bit, but nothing a bit of wood won't fix. I'm currently having galvanised sheet metal cut for the workbench tops to make them last a bit longer, and I'll be cutting holes for power cables and adding extension leads to power tools.
Whilst we're taking a quick break, I want to tell you about today's sponsor, Cove. They sent us the Cove commuter for the workshop. It's a high quality portable Bluetooth speaker that sounds great and gets a lot louder than you expect. So we've been using the commuter for about a week now, and we're really impressed at how good this thing sounds. It's got 2 modes, one for outdoor and one for indoor. I like to listen to podcasts on normal and play tunes like this one on bass mode using the onboard subwoofer. On the top it's got this easy to clean slider to skip songs. This comes in very handy when you've got dirty hands and don't want to pick up your expensive phone. The commuter is also IPX water resistant, which protects it from splashing water no matter the direction. And it also has a 4000 mAh battery that easily lasts 6 hours if not 8, depending on how loud you blast your tunes. When I'm not at my desk or tired of using my headphones, I'm using the commuter. It's good for editing, watching movies and listening to podcasts and songs pretty much anywhere. Just check out the reviews on this thing, they really speak for themselves. Best of all, Cove are giving you guys a huge 65% off the commuter. The link is at the top of the description and you have to use the code BMW65. That'll get you 65% off this surprisingly good speaker, which is a huge discount. So thanks to Cove for the sponsor, let's get back to this workshop.
Moving on to the spray booth, it's time to add lights and get a roof on this thing. Firstly, I needed to add supports for the lights to sit on. This was also filmed before I started the engine series. Over time, the roof sagged. I didn't get round to doing this last episode, but my plan all along was to suspend this roof from the workshop roof. I used steel wire to pull the beams up and lock them in place by twisting the wire together. After a bit of faffing around, I got it straight enough to move on. Off camera, I made up a wiring loom for all 8 lights. Now I'm not sure if this is too many to run off one wire. They are low energy 48 watt LEDs, but for some reason they seem to flicker on camera unlike the other lights in the workshop. Any help in the comments would be appreciated on that one. I then put the lights in their place and set about wiring them up. Once I have the side lights in place, I think it will be bright enough in here. Next were the dreaded roof panels. I think I started the engine series when I did because I didn't want to face the task of cutting and adding these panels, especially on my own. We first decided to divide the roof into 3 pieces, 1 middle piece and 2 edge pieces. This was a bad idea. Because budget and lightness, I bought some 10mm thick plasterboard panels for the roof. This meant it was quite fragile and a bit of a nightmare to work with. We ended up cutting each piece in half. This made them a lot stronger and much easier to handle. This makes it look a lot easier than it actually was. Here I'm cutting the circle for the ventilation hole. I'm going to be improving the ventilation with 2 more ports coming out of the filter and have all 3 going into one big piece. Eventually, we got all the pieces fitted, but we forgot to pull the ducting through before putting the roof on, which made things a little harder. It was then time to seal the gaps in the panels. I ended up choosing this super sticky, slightly flexible aluminium tape for the job. I also used acrylic sealant around the edges and anywhere that needed it before sealing with the tape afterwards. Because the lights need to be on the outside of the booth, I'm going to use acrylic sheet as a see-through barrier mounted on the inside and sealed with sealant. Using the splice and snap method on this piece seemed impossible, so I cut it with a jigsaw. This worked out pretty well, but I did need to clean it up with a sander afterwards. For the rest of the pieces, I used a thinner sheet which allowed me to splice and snap them with ease. DJ primed the roof and gave both the roof and the walls 2 coats of thick white paint. I'm going to retake both of those for me. Once they were all cut, I marked up the mounting holes and reshaped the drill bit to prevent the acrylic from cracking. Using dish soap and this drill bit makes drilling perfect holes every time easy. It was at this point I could start to see the end of the project. We then fitted the light covers. After test fitting the first one, it became clear that I would need to drill another 4 holes in each of them to get them to fit flush enough for the sealant. Acrylic sealant is a must when making a spray booth, as many other types of sealant can react with the paint. Continuing to make it up as we went along, we created a door frame for the hinges to attach to. Finally, it was time to fit the front doors I'd made in episode 5. These doors will rarely be opened, only when a car or something big needs to go in and out of the booth. In the next episode, I'll be adding some kind of seal to the outside and join of these doors. Taking a quick look at where we're at, there is still a lot of work to do on the ventilation, lighting and flooring of this booth. I've decided to add a side door with an airlock room to pump any contaminated air back into the booth. Time to build the airlock room. This room was also painted and sealed inside and out. The door to the workshop will be added in the next episode. In this episode, I cut the door into the spray booth. This alone would disintegrate in about a day, so we added some supports around the door, on the door, and hinges to keep everything together. This door will also be sealed along its edges inside and out. If anyone has any good ideas about how I could seal these seams on the doors, please do leave them down in the comments. Finally, after about a year of abuse, I got some new degreaser. So there it is as it stands. Some great progress made on the spray booth. There's still a lot to buy and a lot to do, like fitting the Collad film for booth, more ventilation spigots, more ducting, wheels for the doors, and a lot more. If you've made it this far through my first voiceover, thanks for watching. Stay tuned for next week's video and I'll see you then.